So I want to start today with a very specific moment. One I think, you'll recognize. It's Friday night. You've just wrapped up a long week. You're on the couch, maybe with some takeout, and you turn off the TV or, you close the laptop after a few hours of binge watching something, and all of a sudden the room is just quiet.
The screen goes black.
Right. And in that quiet, that gap before you get up to go brush your teeth, there's this feeling. And it's not sadness. It's not a crisis. You're not worried about money or anything.
On paper, everything's fine.
Exactly. On paper, you're doing great. You've got the upgrades, the phone's new, the car is safe, the job is stable. But in that moment, you just feel hollow.
A gap.
It's a terrifying gap. And that's what we're really digging into today. We've got a fascinating stack of research here, mostly built around one deep existential analysis of modern life, let's just call it the text, for our purposes. And it gives this feeling a name. They call it the weightlessness of living.
It's a heavy title, isn't it? For a feeling that's all about lightness. The core idea we're looking at today is, well, it's kind of a slap in the face to modern progress.
How so?
It asks, why does having everything so often lead to feeling nothing?
Which is such a paradox, right? Because if I could go back in time and tell my great-grandparents that I can summon food to my door with the tap of my thumb, and I have access to basically every song ever recorded.
They would assume you were a god.
Right. They'd think I must live in this state of constant joy. But I don't feel like a god. I feel tired. And sort of, vaguely bored. So what is going on?
Well, the text kicks things off by referencing Albert Camus, and this really sets the stage perfectly.
Okay.
We tend to think of tragedy as something loud, war, famine, a big disaster. But Camus suggested that the real tragedy of modern man is the absence of meaning in a relatively safe life.
A relatively safe life. Wow, that hits hard. Because we spend our whole lives trying to get safe. We buy the insurance, we get the stable job, we save the money. Are you saying the safety is actually the problem?
It's not the safety itself, but what that safety removes. When you're completely safe, there's no reason to resist anything. There's no enemy.
Right, there's no struggle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't have to hunt for your food. You don't have to build a shelter from the rain. The text argues that humans are, in a way, designed for that struggle. And when you take it away, you remove the very friction that makes you feel alive.
So we're bored because we're winning.
In a way, yeah. We've beaten all the old enemies, hunger, cold, immediate danger. But now we're just left standing on the battlefield with no one left to fight, holding a bunch of nice things and asking, okay, now what?
Okay, but this is where I get stuck, because when I feel that now what feeling, my instinct isn't to go find like a bear to wrestle.
Right.
My instinct is to buy something. I think, oh, maybe I need a vacation, or maybe I need the new version of this gadget. I try to fill that void with more stuff.
And that is the trap. The text calls this the psychology of abundance, and it explains exactly why that next purchase never, ever works.
It's a hedonic treadmill.
It's even deeper than that.
Huh?
The text uses a really great metaphor here. It talks about background scenery.
Okay.
Think about the air conditioning in this room right now.
Right.
When you first walked in from outside, you felt it. You were probably grateful for it. It's cool in here.
Yeah.
But what do you feel about it right now?
I don't feel it at all. It's just here.
It's become invisible. And the text argues that when abundance is constant, it stops being an event, and it just becomes the environment. You don't feel your phone anymore. You don't feel your car. You don't feel the safety of your home. It's all just receded into the background.
So we're surrounded by these miracles that we are structurally incapable of even seeing.
Precisely. And because they're invisible, they can't touch us. They can't give us joy. They just keep us at, a baseline of zero.
That is deeply depressing. But it gets worse, doesn't it? Because the text then moves from our stuff to our actions. It brings in Jean-Paul Sartre.
Yes, and this is really the pivot point of the whole thing. Sartre's big insight was that humans only truly feel they exist when they are the cause of a result.
The cause, meaning like, I did this.
I made this happen. My fingerprints are on this.
No.
But the text then asks this brutal question. In your modern life, are you the creator? Or are you just the user?
Oof. Okay, define that difference. Because I feel like I create things, I write emails, I make dinner.
But do you? Or do you just operate systems that do it for you? You use the app to order the food. You use the software to send the email. You use the car to get to work. The argument is we've shifted from being causes to being operators. The systems are so good, they run perfectly well without your deep, agonizing involvement.
So because my car drives so smoothly and the power steering works so well, I'm not really driving in the same way. My grandfather drove some old tractor that fought him every inch of the way.
And because you're not fighting it, you don't feel the weight of the action. You're just drifting. The text describes modern life as a prolonged neutral state.
You're not suffering,
But you're not really happening either.
you aren't happening. That's such a strange way to put it, but I totally feel that. It's like being a ghost in your own life.
A ghost is exactly right. And this brings us to what might be the most controversial part of the source material. It's called the logic of optimization.
Oh, I was reading this part and I found myself getting defensive.
I can see why.
Because the text basically comes out and attacks the idea of convenience. And listen, I love convenience. I love that I don't have to wait in line at the bank. I love that Spotify knows what I want to hear so I don't have to search. Why is that a bad thing?
Well, it feels good in the moment. Of course it does. But let's look at the cost. The whole goal of optimization is to remove friction.
Right.
And friction is waiting, friction is confusion, friction is effort. But the text argues that friction is also where you live.
Give me an example.
Okay, let's take that Spotify algorithm. It's super convenient and feeds you music you already like. But think about the difference between that and, say, the old experience of walking into a record store
Oh, God.
and digging through a crate for an hour, finding some weird album cover, taking a risk, buying it, and then taking it home to listen.
The record store version is annoying. It takes all afternoon.
It takes effort. It has friction. But because you invested that effort, the discovery belongs to you.
It's mine.
Yes. When the algorithm serves it to you, you're just a passive recipient. You didn't choose, you were fed.
So because I didn't pay for it with my time and my frustration, I don't really value it as much.
You don't own it, existentially. And this applies to everything. If you don't choose the movie, the algorithm chooses. If you don't cook the food, the service delivers it. And the text warns that as we remove all this friction, we create a state of replaceability.
Replaceability.
The system doesn't need you specifically, it just needs a user, any user. If you don't listen to that playlist, someone else will. If you don't order the burger, someone else will. The whole system is designed for stability, which means it has to treat individuals as interchangeable parts.
And that's the weightlessness. It's that feeling that if I just stepped out of the stream, the water would fill in the gap behind me instantly.
Exactly. It's the silent crisis.
Yeah.
It's not some loud disaster. It's that slow creeping realization that the world, your world, doesn't strictly need your specific input to keep turning.
Which leads to this idea of existential fatigue. I relate to this so much. It's that feeling of being exhausted, even though you haven't done anything physically difficult.
It's the fatigue of maintaining a life that doesn't feed you back. And the text details how we defend ourselves from this feeling. Because the human mind hates a vacuum. It hates feeling unnecessary. So what do?
We fill it. We get busy.
We pack the schedule. We become workaholics. Not because the work is vital, but because it creates noise. The text calls this the reflex to fill.
If I'm busy, I must matter.
Precisely. It's why you listen to a podcast at double speed while you're also doing the laundry. You can't handle the silence.
Guilty.
But there's an even more subtle mechanism mentioned here that I think is fascinating. Emotional conservation.
This one blew my mind. It sounds like a battery saver setting on my laptop.
That is a perfect way to think about it. Low power mode for your soul. The idea is that the mind learns that in a world where everything is optimized and replaceable, deep emotion is inefficient.
Inefficient. What does that mean?
Well, think about modern dating, which the text touches on. If you know there are 1,000 other options just a swipe away, and you know that people can ghost you with zero consequences, does it make sense to fall deeply, madly in love on a first date?
No. That's dangerous. You just get crushed.
So you hold back, you conserve your emotion, you hedge your bets, you keep things chill.
Let's just see where it goes.
Exactly. But we do this with everything now. Jobs, hobbies, friendships. We don't bet the house anymore because we know the system is slippery. We always keep one foot out the door.
But if you never bet the house...
Then you never win the house.
Yeah.
You just live in this gray zone. You avoid the crushing heartbreak, sure, but you also avoid the ecstasy. You flatten your life into a safe, straight, predictable line.
And that explains the other side of the coin that the text mentions. The people who do the exact opposite. The people who seem to seek out pain.
The reality check behavior.
Yeah. I mean, why are people running 100-mile ultramarathons? Why are people obsessed with eating incredibly spicy food? Why do people stay in volatile, toxic relationships?
It seems completely counterintuitive, right?
Yeah.
Why seek pain when we love comfort so much?
Right.
But the text argues that pain is proof.
Proof of life.
If your legs are screaming at you at mile 80, you cannot be on autopilot. You are forcefully, violently yanked into the present moment. If your relationship is a constant screaming match, it's miserable, but it is not boring. It's not background scenery.
So we use pain to just break the glass, to feel something, anything other than the numbness.
It's a desperate attempt to create weight, to feel a real consequence.
Okay, let's look at what this weightlessness looks like in the wild. The source gives a couple of really good examples, and I want to pull them apart. The first one is the successful worker.
Right. This is the person who has made it. Good title, good salary. But they tell the author, I don't feel like I'm really in it.
They say they feel like they're just moving papers from one pile to another, or, pixels on a screen.
Because the process is so optimized. In so many modern jobs, you're just a tiny link in a massive chain. You don't see the raw material and you don't see the final customer smiling. You just see your little piece of the screen.
You're alienated from the fruit of your labor?
Completely. You don't get to point at a barn and say, I built that.
Yeah.
You just get a notification that the project status is now complete. It's abstract. And because it's abstract, it has no weight.
And the second example is the bored consumer. And I have to say, I felt personally attacked by this one.
The Netflix paralysis.
The paralysis. I have access to the greatest films in cinematic history. I have thousands of video games, and I sit there scrolling for 45 minutes, and then I just go to bed. Why?
It comes down to one word: reversibility. The text argues that choices only have weight if they cost something to make and are hard to reverse.
And streaming is the complete opposite of that.
It is fictionless. You can start a movie, get bored in 2 minutes, and switch to something else. You can download a game, play the tutorial, and delete it. Because the cost of quitting is zero, the value of choosing is also zero.
It's like if you pay $50 for a concert ticket and drive 2 hours to get there, you're going to enjoy that show, even if the band is just mediocre.
You're invested.
I'm invested.
They're committed. But if you're just watching the live stream for free in your underwear, you'll close the tab the second the drummer misses a beat.
So, okay, we've diagnosed the patient. And the diagnosis is we're safe, we're comfortable, we're optimized, and we're completely numb. We are floating in zero gravity, and our existential muscles are atrophying. So how do we get back to Earth?
This is where we had to shift our thinking completely. Because we usually ask the question, how do I feel happy?
Right. How do I fix this bad feeling?
And the text says that is the wrong question. You shouldn't be trying to feel better. You need to change your existential position. You need to acquire weight.
Weight. It's the central metaphor of the whole piece, but what does it actually mean in practice? I can't just go to the store and buy some weight.
Weight is defined as irreplaceability. It's a situation where your presence makes a distinct, non-negotiable difference. It's the opposite of the algorithm.
So it's about situations where if I don't show up, the thing just doesn't happen.
Yes, and this brings us to the solution, which is going to sound pretty unappealing to a lot of people. The solution is responsibility.
Ugh, I hate that word. It sounds like chores. It sounds like paying my taxes or something.
But that's just maintenance.
Yeah.
Maintenance is keeping the status quo. Weight is different. Weight is choosing a burden that then defines you. See, the text emphasizes we have it all backwards. We wait for meaning to strike us like lightning, and then we'll commit.
I'll write the book when I feel inspired, or I'll volunteer when I feel passionate about a cause.
And the text says, you will wait forever. You have to choose the burden first. You have to lock yourself in. Meaning is a byproduct of obligation.
That is a tough sell. You're telling me that to feel alive, I need to intentionally make my life harder. I need to remove my own exit doors.
Yes, you have to close the exits. Think about the difference between dating someone and marriage. Dating is an easily reversible contract. Marriage, at least in theory, is the closing of exits. It says, I am staying even when it's not optimized, even when there is friction.
And that friction is what creates the depth.
Exactly. So let's get concrete. What does taking on weight look like in 2026? It doesn't mean you have to quit your job and become a monk.
Thank God.
It means finding corners of your life where you can move from being a user to being a cause.
Okay, give me some examples.
All right, caregiving. That is the ultimate weight. If you're taking care of an aging parent or a child or even a high-maintenance pet, that is heavy. It's frustrating. It is full of friction. But you are not replaceable. If you don't do it, they suffer. You are the cause of their well-being.
And despite all the stress, people often say those are the most meaningful periods of their life.
Always. Another example, creative work, where you actually own the outcome. Not the report for your boss that gets absorbed into a bigger machine.
Yeah.
I mean, starting a community garden, launching a podcast where you have to do all the editing yourself, organizing a neighborhood cleanup.
Things where there is no safety net.
And where there's a real chance of failure.
Yeah.
That's key. The text says if you can't fail, you're not really playing. You need to put yourself in positions where you are exposed.
Exposed to what?
To reality.
Yeah.
To the possibility that you might screw up and it will be your fault. That terror, that's the gravity pulling you back down to earth. That's what makes you feel real again.
It reminds me of that feeling when you're carrying a really heavy box and your muscles are shaking and you're sweating. You're not happy in the sense of smiling, but you are definitely not bored.
You are fully occupied. You are necessary.
So the prescription is to look at our lives, which are so carefully designed to be smooth and easy, and to intentionally introduce some rocks, some unsmooth things.
We need to be needed.
Yeah.
Not in some vague, abstract way. We need to know that if we vanished, the structure would actually shake.
You know, we started this whole deep dive talking about having everything but feeling nothing, and it seems like the answer is that we need to stop trying to have and start trying to do or maybe be.
We need to stop floating. We spent 50 years engineering a society that defies gravity. We wanted to float. And now that we're up here floating in the void, we're realizing it's actually suffocating. We need to grab onto something heavy to pull us back down.
This brings us to the end of the source material. And I have to say, the author does not offer hug at the end. There's no, and they all lived happily ever after.
No, it's not a self-help book that promises joy and 3 easy steps. It promises reality. It offers the weight of being truly present.
It just leaves us with a question, a sort of diagnostic tool. I've been asking myself this question all week, and honestly, the answer made me really uncomfortable.
It's supposed to.
The question is this: if you disappeared from your life tomorrow, just vanished, what would truly stop happening just because you weren't there?
And you have to be honest, not what would be delayed for a week until HR finds a replacement,
Yeah.
not even who would be sad. We're asking what project, what connection, what outcome relies entirely on your specific, unique energy to exist.
What would simply cease to be?
And if the answer is nothing, if the answer is the system would just autofill my spot,
Then that's your signal. It's not a reason to despair. It's not a reason to go quit your job tomorrow, but it is a call to action.
it's time to find something heavy to carry.
It's time to make yourself irreplaceable. Thanks for diving in with us. We'll see you next time.